right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. It is pretty much the end of October. We still have Halloween tomorrow, but it's also wrapping up our space month. So all month long, we've been connecting with scientists and engineers and astronauts to learn about what it takes to leave our planet, explore the solar system and beyond, and then, of course, turn an eye back on Earth and look at it in ways we never could before. So we're going to try and squeeze in one more space exploration event before we say goodbye. But of course, all year long, we'll still mix in the occasional space event. There's too much cool stuff going on to leave it totally behind. So exploringbytheseat.com is where you can find everything coming up for the month of November and beyond. So do take a look, and we hope to see your classroom spending a little time with us. Let's get into today's special event. So we're going to spend a little time with the retired NASA astronaut, pilot of the space shuttle Endeavour, and crew member of the Russian Soyuz spacecraft, Terry Virts. He spent 200 consecutive days in space as commander of the International Space Station. He helped install the outpost's 360-degree observation module, which allowed him to take more photos than any astronaut before him. It also gave him a chance to look back on Earth, have a deeper understanding of its beauty, its climate, and our place in the universe. So we always love stealing a little bit of Terry's time. I'm going to reach backstage and see if we can grab him with us right now. Hey, Terry, how you doing?
Hey, Joe, it's so good to be here. Great to be talking with kids. Wish I was in the classroom in person, but this is second best.
All right. Well, it's great to see you. We have classrooms from across North America hanging out with us. I see some of them in the chat saying hi from Newfoundland and New York. And where else? Burlington, Ontario. They're saying go Jays go. I agree with that. And also from Nicaragua. So don't be shy. Use the chat sidebar. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And then we have a great group of classrooms backstage. I'm so excited to get their questions when the time comes. But for now, Terry, we'd love to let you take over for a little bit and take us on some of your space exploration adventures.
So first of all, I wish I was wearing my Blue Jays shirt. I have a t-shirt that I've been wearing since the beginning of the playoffs, and I haven't washed it since then. So it'll be nice to wash it this weekend, but go Jays for sure. I have a family friend, Braden Fisher, who's a pitcher on the Blue Jays. Cool. So I'm super excited. Last night was an amazing game. Let me see if I can share my screen. Here we go. The share. Oh, there it is. Share. Boom. No.
Yeah, so far so good. I see it loading.
And there we go.
Perfect.
So I'll just tell a few stories from space, and then we can do questions and answers. Launching on the space shuttle was amazing. There's actually a kid's book, if kids like it, called The Astronaut's Guide to Leaving the Planet. I've got it here. And we talked about this before, but reading was how I got interested in being an astronaut. I didn't know anything about really how to do it. And I read a book about Apollo, and I read The Right Stuff when I was in middle school. And those books really put me on my course to being an astronaut. So I can't tell the kids out there just how important reading is. It's probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life because it's opened up so many doors for me. But this is a video of the space shuttle launch, my first mission. Oops. Can you still see it?
You just have to bring it back up to the front, Terry. When it hides the bar, it sometimes hides the presentation too.
Okay, there you go.
Perfect.
So my first mission was on the space shuttle Endeavour. It was a cold morning, and I had been a fighter pilot and test pilot, so I thought I'd done some stuff. But when you hear the space shuttle engines light up, it's pretty amazing. So this is the first mission. The engines light up 6 seconds before launch. The computers check them out to make sure they're working. Because once the big white solid rocket motors light up, you can't turn them off. That you were going somewhere. And there was this cloud just above us, like 5,000 feet above us, and all the flames from the engine reflected off that cloud, and it turned nighttime into day. It was the most amazing thing. The space shuttle got up to 3 Gs, so 3 times the force of gravity. So imagine being in your mom's minivan when she steps on the gas and you get pushed back in the seat a little bit. Well, in the space shuttle, it's 3 times your body weight. So lay on your back and have a couple of your friends lay on top of you, and then have one of them shake you as hard as you can. You can see the tank vibrating there because there's so much vibration from the rocket fuel. So launching into space is very, very, very cool. This is a video, my friends watching it. They were about 3 miles, about 5 kilometers away. And there you can see nighttime turn into day. And you don't hear anything initially because sound moves 1,100 feet per second, about 350 meters per second at sea level. And then there you can hear the sound. 6 seconds, it's quiet. And then after that 6 second, it gets super loud when the solid rocket motors light up. So launching into space is cool. And both, I flew about 4 or 5 years later. I went up with the Russians on their Soyuz spacecraft. So this is a picture of the International Space Station. On my shuttle flight, we actually finished building the ISS, which was an amazing honor. And then on my second flight with the Russians, I ended up spending 200 days there. So I was commander of the ISS. It's a huge spaceship, bigger than a football field. And you guys should do a project with your teachers. There's websites and there's apps that you can actually track where the space station is. And you can see it flying over right after sunset or early in the morning before sunrise. And what you're seeing is the sunlight reflecting off of the solar panels. And people always ask, what's it like in space? It feels like you're falling because that's actually what's happening. You're falling. It's not 0 G. There's a lot of gravity from Earth because you're only a few hundred miles away. So my body and the space station and that IMAX movie camera are all falling towards the center of the Earth. But as we fall, we move forward 5 miles every second. That's about 8 kilometers every second. So the combination of falling towards the center of the Earth and moving forward that fast, that makes a curve. And if you're at the right speed, that curve is the shape of the Earth. And that's an orbit. So that's what we are doing in the space station. But it feels like you're falling if you wonder what it feels like in space. This is my Thanksgiving dinner. So the bottom line for space food is it's pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. And you have to put all your food on Velcro, otherwise it would float away, or duct tape. I had a big piece of duct tape that was on backwards. And the green packets are like military MREs. You just rip them open and it's ready to eat. And the white and the clear yellow thing is rehydratable food. So my turkey and mashed potatoes were in the green bags. They were ready to go. And the yellow was my stuffing. So I had to put it in a machine, fill it up with water. And then about 10 minutes later, it turns into food. And the silver bag is kind of like a Capri Sun juice box, but it's just powder. It's like Kool-Aid powder or Tang powder or Gatorade powder. And you have to add water. And so you put water in those bags and you can have coffee or tea or milk or juices, anything except for carbonation. So there's no Cokes or Pepsis or Dr. Peppers up there. But that was my Thanksgiving dinner. And this is exercise in space. Exercise is super important. You can see the treadmill bouncing around. It's on what's called a vibration isolation system, which is basically a set of 4 springs. So if it was bolted to the wall, it would actually shake the station apart. This is my crewmate Samantha doing deadlifts. And you can see that big weightlifting machine is also on a set of springs because you would not want to have people shaking and rattling the space station that much. It would literally break. But exercise is really important. Your bones and muscles get weaker because of the weightlessness. And they did a big DEXA scan. It's a big x-ray scan of my body head to toe. And I did that before my mission and after 200 days later after my mission. And I lost 0% of my bone density. And it was because I was exercising every day. So exercise is important in space. It's also very important on Earth. And this is the bike. The bike's kind of cool because you wear bike shoes with clips and you just clip into the bike and there's no handlebar, there's no seat, you just float there. So we had camera brackets. The things that I'm holding onto are camera brackets. And that is me cutting Samantha's hair. This was absolutely terrifying. For men, my haircut, I still go to the same hairdresser. It's very simple. I just take the clippers and 30 seconds later, I have a haircut. Samantha was very complicated. I think I did the first ever proper woman's haircut in space, but it came out pretty good. She seemed to be happy. And Anton, our Russian cosmonaut, was floating overhead with the vacuum cleaner. So I would cut the hair and then Anton would suck it up. This is sleeping in space. Sleeping in space is awesome. I would get in my sleeping bag. I'd put my arms and my head and everything in the sleeping bag with a little hole so I could breathe through. And then I would just float. I wasn't clipped to the wall or anything like that when I was actually sleeping. I would just float in the sleep station. And that was pretty cool to sleep while floating. I highly recommend it. This is what the ISS looks like at nighttime. You can see all the green lights are just the little LEDs on electronic equipment and computers. And the pink is a lettuce machine. So it's a system that was growing lettuce in space. And the pink light is actually the most efficient way to grow plants, they figured out. So humans eventually are going to need to figure out how to grow plants so we can eat them in space. And this is a neat experiment. I did an IMAX movie called A Beautiful Planet. And if you look in the movie, A Beautiful Planet, highly recommend it. It's a great movie about space. Jennifer Lawrence narrated it, but there's a scene where we're eating lettuce, and it was from this experiment. This is our cargo ship. When they come up, they're full of food and equipment and clothes and everything we need. Then you unpack it. Then you fill it up with trash and send it back to Earth. It burns up in the atmosphere a few hours later. And this is the ATV-5 undocking from the space station. I videoed it a couple hours later, burning up in the atmosphere, but it looks like an X-Wing fighter. That's why I put the video in there. This is spacewalking. Spacewalking is amazing. The spacesuit is really big and heavy. It weighs a couple hundred pounds. It's pressurized, so it's hard to move inside. And you have all kinds of equipment. That big gray thing on the right-hand side, you can see a little metal wire. That's called a safety tether. And so that's attached to me and the space station. So if I accidentally let go and floated away, that tether is like a fishing line that would reel me in back to the space station. This is a GoPro video that you can see all the stuff that we have to carry, and all those pieces of equipment are on tethers too. If you look closely, you can see a little cord there, and all the cord, like I said, it's like a fishing pole where the reel automatically reels itself in. But the problem is you have to keep track of all that stuff and make sure, it doesn't get wrapped up. And it's physically difficult to move around in the spacesuit, but it's also mentally exhausting because you have to think constantly and keep track of everything. And this was really cool. Samantha's husbands gave us all Legos for our Christmas present. So that was the little astronaut Terry Virts Lego. And I like sports, so he gave me a Lego football. That was a cool Christmas present. This is what it looks like out the window when you come back to Earth. You hit the atmosphere going so fast, it turns the air into plasma. So out the hatch, you can see this glowing red and pink fireball outside. It's really amazing. But it's really important to have a spaceship with a good heat shield that can protect you when you hit the atmosphere going 17,000 miles an hour, because otherwise you would just burn up. And this is what it's like to land inside the Soyuz capsule. It's very, very packed and tight, and bam, you just crash onto the ground. The Russians don't land in the ocean. They land on the ground in Kazakhstan, which was amazing. And this is what it was like. Let's see. It doesn't work. Anyway, so this is the cupola. Mr. Grabowski mentioned this briefly. It's a really cool module with 7 windows. You go in there. It's on the bottom of the space station. So if you look up, Earth is above you. And I took a lot of photos. They told me I took the most ever photos of any astronaut. But this picture, I love this because you can see Earth and you see that thin blue line at the top. If you look up at the top, the thin blue line there is our atmosphere. And it is thin, and every human being that's ever existed, all 100 billion humans since the beginning of time, have depended on that atmosphere. And the one thing I realized while I was there is that we have planet A and there is no planet B. It's just really important that we take care of Earth. This is one orbit around Earth. Usually the sun rises in front of the spaceship and sets behind it, but there's usually a week in the summertime and another week in the wintertime when the sun is off to the side. So as you go around the Earth, the sun just kind of does this circle over there, and it's really cool. And so this is one orbit. 90 minutes it takes to do an orbit around the Earth. So this is 90 minutes sped up to 30 seconds. There's the moonrise. You can see the thin blue line at the bottom. At nighttime, you see this brown part of our atmosphere, and it's atomic oxygen and nitrogen and different gases that are really high up there, hundreds of miles, hundreds of kilometers up. And you only see the brown at nighttime. You can't see it in the day. These are thunderstorms over Africa. You also see thunderstorms like this over South America and the South Pacific. Anywhere near the equator, they have very impressive thunderstorms. And this is amazing. This is the UK and Ireland, and these are the northern lights. And it's nighttime, it's midnight, but the moon is what's lighting up Earth. So you can see snow down there in Denmark and Norway, and that is from the moon. But the northern lights, the aurora borealis and the aurora australis, those are from the Earth's magnetic field that captures radiation from the sun. When that radiation goes down the magnetic field lines into the atmosphere, it glows green and pink. And it's just amazing to see that with your eyes. These are the southern lights, the aurora australis. And those are even more amazing because the south magnetic pole, where the south magnetic field is a lot closer to our orbit than the North Pole is. And so we actually fly through this. And that red and pink part of the aurora, that goes up like 1,000 miles. It goes really, really, really high, way above where the space station orbit is. Good night, moon. And this is the center of our galaxy. You can see the thin blue line. You can see the moon reflecting on the ocean. And you see that big, thick brown upper atmosphere. And there's a little bit of green at the top. They call that air glow. But the clouds those are hydrogen gas clouds in the distance. And that's the center of our galaxy near Sagittarius, the constellation Sagittarius. And there's just so many billions of stars, folks. If you wait till it's nighttime, if you turn off all the lights, you let your eyes adjust, the galaxy is just amazing. There's so many stars out there. It's awesome. You can see the planets from Mercury to Saturn. You can't see beyond Saturn, but I could never pick out any stars or constellations. There's just too many. This is an island in the South Pacific, and the white part are rivers, and the black part is the jungle. And the rivers are flowing out of the jungle into the ocean. It's just amazing. Usually I do a game, guess what country this is. I'll let you guys guess, and I'll tell you here in a second. Most people can guess this country. One time I had a kid yell out Montenegro, and he was right. But this is, of course, Italy on the left there. And you don't really see people during the daytime, but you can see them at nighttime with the city lights. That's the city of Dubai. It's called the Palm Island, and there's a North America place there. It's really cool. These are sand dunes in Saudi Arabia. You can actually see sand dunes from space. And these are sand dunes in the Bahamas that are underwater. So you're still seeing sand dunes, but in the desert, it's air that makes the sand dunes. And under the ocean, it's water that makes the sand dunes. So wherever you have sand and flowing fluid, you will get dunes. There's another picture of Florida, and that blue turquoise is so prominent. You can see the Bahamas on the right, the Florida Keys in the south. Cuba is just south of there. That there's so much of that beautiful blue color there. It's awesome. That's actually Ukraine. That is eastern Ukraine in the wintertime. And that is Crimea. This is also part of Ukraine. And this is the last picture I took in space. It was awesome. And that's looking out the Earth, seeing this, our sun. That's our sun with the starburst pattern. And I want to leave you kids with this story. My journey into space didn't start at a launch pad. It started when I was a kid. I read a book about Apollo. I read the right stuff, but I didn't really think I could be an astronaut. Nobody believed in me. Everybody said, you should be an accountant. Don't be an astronaut. So as I grew up, I went to the Air Force. I became a test pilot, and NASA had an astronaut class, and I applied while I was still a student at test pilot school. And all my classmates wanted to be an astronaut, but they didn't apply. They said, well, we're too young. We haven't even graduated yet. Wait till you're older, whatever. So I went ahead and applied. And long story short, I got picked. I was the youngest pilot at NASA. And all of my crewmates who did not apply never got picked. And the lesson I learned is, and this is really important, folks, listen to this. The lesson I learned is don't tell yourself no. If there's some dream you have, don't tell yourself no. If you don't try, you'll never get the dream. Now, if you have a big dream, if you want to be a doctor, it's really hard. You have to go to college and get good grades and do well on the test. There's a lot of things you have to do. But the first and most important step for whatever the dream you have is don't tell yourself no. With that, we can delete that. With that, we can go back to do Q&A.
All right. Awesome, Terry. I never get tired of those pictures, those videos. It's just what an amazing experience. I know it gives you a perspective that few people get to have, seeing the planet, seeing the size, no country lines, seeing that thin little atmosphere protecting us. I really wish everybody could experience that, because I think it would change a lot of things down here.
We need that. Yes.
All right. Well, Terry, while you were presenting, I pulled together a quick Kahoot quiz behind the scenes. So we're going to have a little interaction
Let's do it.
With the classrooms. While this is loading, if you're tuning in via YouTube, don't be shy. Get some questions into the chat sidebar for us, and we will start working those in. We're going to visit our camera classroom shortly, but let's get this queued up here.
My sharing is done, Joe, by the way, right? I'm not sharing.
Oh, no, I took it down. You're good.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we have the Kahoot here loading. If you would like to join us today, you go to kahoot.it. Kahoot.it is the website, and then it's going to ask you for a PIN number. Today's PIN is 404-8406. If you can join with something at your seat, maybe a Chromebook or a tablet, that's great. If not, this should already be up at the front of your classroom. You can shout out the answers to your teacher when we get started. If you're joining from home, you can scan that QR code, use a phone, use a tablet, and it will bring you right in. I can see we're getting lots of auto-generated animal names like the hero koala, the agile seal, the glowing panda. So that's great. And you know what? Since it's going to take a couple minutes maybe to get everybody in place, let's just start grabbing some classroom questions now and give us a bit of a head start. So let's see. First one here just came in online. One of the students, it never fails, Terry. You could be rowing across an ocean, on an Antarctic expedition, or in space. Students always want to know the bathroom business. So how do you do what you need to do when you're in space?
Very carefully. So it's actually not that bad. Here's the bottom line. There's a hose for number one, and there's a can for number two. So you go in there, and there's a checklist. I always follow the checklist. Like you turn the valve on and you turn the fan on, and we have fans to make sure everything goes in the right direction. On Earth, you got gravity. Thankfully, we have gravity. So everything works pretty well as long as you have good aim. But in space, you need both good aim and fans to blow, for the air to blow things. So you have an emergency procedure. Like if the fan stops, you have to immediately close the hatch.
We
But
had
yeah.
a week or so ago, we had Katie Coleman join us, and she had a little video clip where they put floating M&Ms above the toilet, and we saw how the fan pulls them into
that's a good. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, very
No,
cool.
it's the fan is sucking. Like you don't want to make contact because it's like so.
Okay, I like this question. Miss Wells' class would like to know, what are you doing when you're not in space? So maybe between missions or now as a retired astronaut.
Yeah, now I'm retired. So when I was at NASA, they call them ground jobs. So some of my time I spent supporting other astronauts who were doing their missions. I helped them out. I was at Capcom for a long time, so I worked at Mission Control as the person who talked on the radio. So all the flight control team would decide what's going on and what we needed to do, and then I would get on the radio and call up that to the astronauts. I was our T-38 guy, so I helped run the flying program. I was our head of robotics. I was in charge of the SLS. I was the astronaut representative for the SLS rocket for a year, so I did different programs. And now that I'm done, I've been doing a lot of speaking. I've been doing consulting in the energy industry. I've been working on carbon capture. And I'm actually running for Congress here in Texas right now. So I'm running for political office in Texas.
You are a brave man. Politics.
I'm a crazy, insane man.
Yeah. Okay, one more before we start the Kahoot. Wi-Fi. Is there connectivity in space?
There is. So there's Wi-Fi on the station just within the space station. But to get it to the internet, we go up to satellites. They're called TDRS satellites, and then down to Earth ground stations. So when I was there, this has been a while, the internet was really slow. It was my year to get away from the internet. It was actually really nice. We would do emails or video conferences with my family on the weekends, or, there was some internet, but it was pretty slow. Some of my crewmates would log on to the web. It was my chance to get away from the internet. So It was nice.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we're ready to start some Kahoot, and then we'll start getting some faces and voices in here for some more questions. So let's hit start here. Remember, the quicker you put in the right answer, we've got true or false, we've got multiple choice, the more points you're going to get. And then we'll take a look at our podium in the end. So about how many days did Terry spend on the space station? Maybe you remember this from the beginning. Was it about 40, around 100, 150, or 200 days? So you got a little extra time here with the multiple choice because there's a bit more reading. How many days did Terry spend on the space station? 40, 100, 150, or around 200 days? Couple more seconds. All right. Good job, crew. Around 200 days. And I bet it wasn't long enough, Terry. I bet you'd go back again in a heartbeat.
You know what I'd like to do? If I could go back and film a movie, because I help make a beautiful planet. I love filmmaking, and that would be my my favorite thing to do in space.
Well, I heard a rumor they want to get Tom Cruise up there. Maybe you can go up and direct.
I would love that.
All right. The glowing narwhal is holding down that top spot. Let's get to another one. How many G's do you feel launching on the space shuttle? Is it around 1, 2, 3, or as much as 4 G's when you launch?
I'm raising my hand. I want to answer.
All right. Well, we'll let you pop your answer in right at the end, Terry, in the last 2 seconds. So about how many G's do you feel launching on the space shuttle? 1, 2, 3, or 4 G's? You've got 3 seconds to lock something in. What is it, Terry?
3 G's.
3 G's, 3 times the force of gravity. Pretty cool. Okay, good job, crew. No fooling this gang. That puts the groovy Bobcat into first place. Let's go to a little true or false action. The spacesuit for heading out on a spacewalk weighs over 100 pounds. What do you think? Is that true or false? Is it really light so you can be nimble, or is it weighing over 100 pounds with all the gear and important life support stuff you need when you leave the station? You have about 5 seconds to lock something in. True or false? Does it weigh over 100 pounds? All right. Good job, crew. That is absolutely true. I think you were saying, Terry, even pushing 200 pounds.
I think more than that. It depends on the equipment you have, but I mean, it could be 300 or 400 or 500 pounds. It's really massive. It actually doesn't. So on Earth, that's how much it weighs. In space, it doesn't weigh anything, but it's still mass. There's still a lot of stuff. So when you move, it's kind of hard to get moving, but it's really hard to stop. And so you have to be. You don't want to go too fast because you might have to stop hundreds of pounds with your own muscles. Groovy Bobcat there. Look at that.
Holding on for the last two questions. Multiple choice. We talked about exercise, but one machine in this list was not on the space station. Did we talk about treadmills, bikes, rowing machines, weight machines? One of those just doesn't belong. Treadmill, bike, rowing machine, or weight machine? What do you think? Which one did Terry not talk about today on the ISS? You have 10 seconds to lock in your answer. And then we'll go ahead. I think we have one more question after this. All right, rowing machine. This group.
You know what, Joe? That might be the exercise machine we use when we go to Mars, and we don't have it right now, but ironically, that might be the one and only machine we have in the future.
It would be a good one. It's a nice full body one.
It is.
Okay, we're going to our podium in third place. We've got the fascinating axolotl. In second, Groovy Bobcat sliding to second. That means we have someone else on that top spot. The soaring sea lion soaring to victory on that last question. Good stuff.
Well done.
All right, crew. Yeah, thanks for playing along. I'm going to turn off that music, turn off that screen share, and we're going to get some faces up here on the screen. Excuse me. All right, let's go to our third and fourth graders. They are in North Bay and not Thunder Bay, Ontario. Like I said earlier this morning, they are in North Bay. How are we doing, third and fourth graders? Let's get that mic and let's get a question. Oh, you just got to grab the mic for me. You guys are still on mute.
Hi, my name is Ben. I'm from North Bay. What is the most dangerous thing up there?
Hi, Ben. The most dangerous thing is probably a meteorite hitting you, because if you can't see it coming in, if it's a big rock, then we'll be able to see it with telescopes and radars. But if it's like a small thing, like the size of my drink bottle, it's going kilometers every second. So it would go right through the space station. So that's probably the most dangerous thing, is being hit by some type of meteorite. And go Blue Jays.
All right. Coming back to Toronto tomorrow. I was lucky. I got to go to game 2, which was pretty cool.
Oh man, I'm so jealous. I almost went. I literally almost went, but I didn't.
All right. Okay, North Bay, we'll check in with you and see if you have another one. Where do I want to go now? Mrs. Sartoretto's crew, let's get you in here. Grade 6s, front and center.
What is your favorite thing to do in space as a pastime?
For me, it was taking pictures. As soon as I worked all day because you had to work, and then as soon as I was done, I would get the camera out and either take pictures for fun for me or take pictures for the IMAX movie. I shot a lot of that movie in my spare time. And there's some poor guy here in Houston who has to count. And they told me after my mission that I took the most ever pictures of any astronaut. So I like photography.
All right, let's get someone else front and center.
Go
ahead.
What happens when your spacesuit gets cut?
Well, you have the rest of your life to figure it out. Hopefully, there's 11 layers of fabric and plastic and mesh, and there's a bunch of different things that you wear. Like you start with long underwear, and then there's these cooling garments with little rubber water tubes, and then there's thick rubber and thick space fabric. So hopefully, if it just gets cut on the outer line, you'll be okay. If it went all the way through, like if a little small meteorite went through, that would be bad. We have emergency oxygen. So if it's a small hole, the oxygen will just fill up the suit, and you got to crawl back to the airlock and shut the hatch and get inside. So there is an emergency oxygen system to give you time to get back inside.
All right, let's snag one more, and then I'll try to come back for a couple more. But let's get one more before we go to the next classroom.
Did your water come in pouches, bottles, or did it come from a faucet?
So we have these big it's kind of like a backpack. Imagine a backpack full of water. They weigh about 50 pounds, so it's pretty heavy. And that's one of the ways they come up. One of the ways that we send up water is in the Russian Progress. They have water tanks, and they just fill it up through their system. The other way we get water is we recycle it. So when you breathe out, there's humidity in your breath. You all are in Canada, so if you, in the wintertime, you breathe on a piece of glass, you'll see fog. That's actually humidity coming out of your body. And so the air there gets humid, and we have a system that takes the water out of the air, and then we recycle that so we can use it. And then we also take it out of urine. So the bathroom, when you go pee, that urine goes through a system on the American side. The Russians don't have that, but the Americans have the system that recycles it. And so there's different ways that we get water.
All right, great questions. Let's go to Miss Hughes' crew. Some grade 6s hanging out with us.
Has there ever been an oxygen leak on the space station?
There has. And so there's a lab. The lab is the main US laboratory, and there's a big, beautiful window in there, and it had a small crack in it. The Russian segment right now has some really dangerous cracks. They're like it's a metal can that you're living inside of. It's like a centimeter thick aluminum or titanium walls. And the Russian aluminum is cracking. It's actually a problem. The air leaks out of it. So what they do, they close the hatch and all the air leaks out in this small section. And then when cosmonauts need to go in there, they fill it back up with air. They open the hatch, they go in there. And while they're in there, there's air leaking out. So there's a little bit of leak coming out of the space station right now. And everybody's very concerned about it.
How many people can be on the ISS at once?
A lot. So normally, when I was there were 6 normally. Sometimes we went from 3 to 6. When I was on my space station, we had 11, I think. So sometimes if you have a big 7-person space shuttle crew and a full space station, probably the most there's ever been has been 13 or 14. On a normal day, now there's 7. There's 3 that come up on the Russian spaceship, and there's 4 that come up on a SpaceX Dragon. So usually there's 5, 6, 7 astronauts and cosmonauts there. Sometimes it's 10 or 12 or 13, and sometimes it goes down to 3. So it depends. It's always changing. Every few weeks it changes.
All right, thanks for those great questions. We're going to go to Connecticut now. We've got some 4th graders hanging out with us. Our exploration class. How are we doing, 4th graders?
Good.
Excellent.
Good to see you guys. Hey, and Joe, I have to go in about 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay.
Did you get taller? And if you did, by how much?
I got taller because right now gravity's pushing me down, and in space you stretch out. So it's like, imagine if I picked you up by your feet, you'd stretch out a little bit. So I grew 5 centimeters, which is about 2 inches. So I was finally 6 feet tall. But a few hours after you get back to Earth, gravity squashes you again. That's a great question.
All right, let's grab one more from someone in line there.
Did you ever land on the moon? And if not, would you want to?
No and yes. Nobody has landed on the moon since 1972. NASA has a program called Artemis. Hopefully they'll be going back within a few years. That's one of the things I want to do in my next job, hopefully, is help them get back to the moon. But I did not go there. It's been a long time since anybody went to the moon.
All right. So, Terry, we have 2 classes backstage. I'm going to bring them both in to get one question from each to wrap us up.
Awesome.
Does that sound okay? Okay.
Perfect.
So, St. Teresa, do you want to go ahead? We've got some 3rd graders hanging.
My name is Emma. Would you ever like to go to space again?
Hi, Emma. You know, I had a great time in space, but the one thing I would like to do in space is make a movie. If I could go back to space, I would like to either make a documentary about how cool space is, or maybe a Tom Cruise action movie. That would be fun. So I would like to do that.
All right. Thanks, St. Teresa. And Mrs. Collins, I believe you're just around the corner in Fergus.
How do you not die from the blood rushing to your head in space?
So back in the 1950s, people thought that might happen. So it's not only blood, it's also water in your body. It kind of floats up. So when you see astronauts, their face is puffy. But and I did an ultrasound thing, and like your carotid artery opens up, and it's interesting. But I don't know why. I'm just a fighter pilot. I'm not a doctor, but your body is amazing. The body adapts, and it does very well in space. I don't know why, but it does very well. The heart, because you might die if your heart and cardiovascular system didn't work, but it works well.
All right. Well, Terry, I'm going to start with a huge shout out to our classrooms. Thank you for all those amazing questions. Thanks for playing Kahoot. If classrooms want to turn their mics on, we can do a big goodbye and thank you, which is which is fun to do. It always gets nice and loud. So let's bring in some of those backstage classrooms here. If you're going to get loud. Terry, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And yeah, go Jays, go. Hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.